And relax. England have done it. They're through to the semi-finals of the Euros. There was no drama. It was fairly straightforward. Actually, if you've been listening to Stuart Pearce on talkSPORT all this week, you would know exactly what was going to happen. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. First of all, England through. They won the shootout 5-3 after a 1-1 draw after extra time. And England are into the semi-finals of the Euros. And Stuart Pearce, it feels really good, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Listen, the team, the manager, the coaches, they've been under the pump. They've underperformed. Let's make no mistake about that. They went out under pressure today against a very good Swiss side, by the way, and there was very little to choose between the two sides. I think it's the best performance England have put in this tournament, without a doubt about that. I thought Saka was outstanding. And you know and I know it's all about getting through into the next round. We've got a major semi-final again to look forward to.
Yeah, it must have felt so good to commentate on, Jim.
It's just wonderful. It's fantastic. We've had this conversation a few times about great sporting moments are only great given a context. And the context is England's poor history in penalty shootouts that we've seen, and we've been fortunate to see a few of them firsthand. Quarter-final defeats, going out on penalties, and that's what makes this particularly special. But I think the credit as well to everybody involved with the way that England stepped up to the plate when they had to. 3 games of knockout football on the agenda, there for the taking. And after the first 4 performances, or 3.5 poor performances out of 4 games, to be able to produce that significant level of improvement was just fantastic. It was good to see. There's still room for further improvement, which I know we'll talk about very shortly, but to be sat here now doing an England debrief that could have been about the end of Gareth Southgate's reign, and instead it's England. All you can hear in the background is England fans so loud you can barely hear yourself think. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, especially when you think back to the Slovakia game when England were virtually out. They were gone, then Jude scores, and here we are into a semi-final of the Euros. England fell behind, they fell asleep, and Switzerland took advantage, Stuart. But what I loved about this was, yet again, England reacted to it. First of all, let's discuss the substitutions, because I know that, well, I know from my own phone that the messages I was getting from England fans, I know they weren't happy with Gareth. Switzerland made substitutions, took the lead, he then reacted. The call is for Gareth to be more proactive with his subs and try to get in front first rather than react when going behind. Is that a fair criticism, do you think?
On occasion it is. I don't think on this occasion it was, though. I think while we were in the game and it was even Stevens and a game for sharing, I'm not sure that there was too many substitution calls to be made. The only one potentially I would have made was maybe Trips, if you want to put another wide, aggressive winger type on for him on that side. Aside from that, I think everyone was doing well enough. We were in the game, playing with fluency that we hadn't seen as regularly. So in many ways, I'm not so sure. The one thing I liked, and we said it before the actual subs were made, as soon as we were to go a goal down or a goal up, quick substitutions had to be made. As soon as we went a goal down, before we started again, 2-3 subs were on their feet, ready to roll and ready to come on the pitch. That's quick substitutions.
Yeah, so let's talk about Saka, because I thought he was terrific first half, and then he scores a brilliant. I mean, it might get sort of lost a little bit because of the penalties afterwards, which we'll come on to, but it's actually a brilliant goal from Saka to equalise, isn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Well, and he deserved it as well. It was a great all-round performance. It was easily his best of the tournament so far. And he would have felt under pressure, because when everybody was picking the England team that they wanted, his name was one that had question marks over it, and a lot of England fans with a clamour for Cole Palmer to come on and start in his place. Now, Cole actually staked a great claim as well and did really well. But Saka's performance was a mature one. It was one of a willingness to take the game by the scruff of the neck. In that first 45 minutes, he beat Abisha 4 times. Now, there's been no other player in this tournament so far that has been able to beat his individual opponent that many times within a half of the game. Now, Abisha was struggling, but Saka was just in a position that he could beat him, and it wasn't beating him the same way every time, but he was playing with almost a newfound confidence that we haven't seen. And I think his performance was one of the greatest step ups of any of the players, greatest steps up of any of the England players that took to the field today. He did really well. The goal itself was fantastic. Again, taking the game by the scruff of the neck, cutting onto his left foot. Don't know why they showed him inside. Really glad they did. But the finish was delightful because Sommer's a fantastic goalkeeper. He's got a large wingspan, a large reach, and he couldn't get there, and he just took that perfect little kiss off the inside of the post. And it's another moment that could have a major part in transforming England football history.
Indeed, it was a great goal, terrific finish, and no way Sommer could get to it. Overall then, Stuart, would you say the change in formation worked for England, that Gareth Southgate was right to do it? Because it finished 1-1 after extra time. So did it all work for England?
I think so. I think we got a better performance. I think we looked more fluid playing out from the back. And I think we went from back to front a little bit more readily as well, something that I've been bemoaning, to be quite honest with you, and not in just a hoofball type manner. I'm talking about playing cultured balls into our forward play if the press is that strong that you can't play through it. I think for the first 2 or 3 games we were continually trying to play through a press when it wasn't on. Bypass it. You know, it's not a dirty word to play a ball over 40 yards, you know.
Absolutely. Let's get on to the penalties, because Jim Proudfoot said something tonight on talkSPORT. As an England fan, Jim, you said that you were confident. And in our lifetime, growing up, England penalties tournaments, you can't be confident, but you were confident. So explain.
Well, I was confident because of a conversation that the three of us had earlier in the week, where we did a programme and we talked about the preparation that England make going into a penalty shootout. And it just started really with an idle chat over a coffee that Stuart and I had. But he gave such a fascinating insight into the level of preparation that is undertaken by the analysts Steve O'Brien and Mike Baker and their team. How England had got to this point and the level of preparation, the hours and hours of work, thousands of hours that go into it. So that England are now in a position that when they come to a shootout, they know exactly the 5 players that should be taking the penalties, and they know the best order for them to be taken. They know the best way for those penalties to go. They know where they're strongest, they know where they're weakest, they know what they've got the best chance of converting the penalty. So having had that conversation, it's the first time I've ever watched England in a shootout where I genuinely believe that England had a much better than 50-50 chance of actually winning it. And if I had that confidence, the point we were making was that if I had that confidence, that has to transfer through to the players, that they will know the hours of preparation. So they will go into it feeling better equipped than the opposition, feeling better equipped than they ever have for a penalty shootout in the past. And so much, I will never be in the position to take one, but so much of it must be in your head and belief and doubt and being the right side of that particular fulcrum, and clearly England were tonight, because that was a textbook penalty shootout.
It was. England won it. There were some brilliant penalties in there as well. It was faultless, really. And what's really interesting, I could sense that people at home might have been thinking, okay, Cole Palmer to take the first one with Harry Kane off the pitch, and then they would have expected Ivan Toney to take the second one. And yet, Stuart, he took the 4th one, and this is all part of the research, all part of the analysis, all part of the science that's gone into England winning that penalty shootout.
Exactly that. And listen, some of the boys internally that work inside on the analysis side of it, as Jim alluded to there, that they come back to me many years ago, we're talking 15 years ago, and had a study of 10 years of penalty shootouts. And I'm not talking about in England or Europe, I'm talking about worldwide. Every penalty shootout that was ever undertaken, they had. And they had the stats of it. So they could come back to me at the time and said, the most important penalty is the 4th one. So you put your first man up as 4th penalty taker. And it works pro rata from there. The incredible thing was, I was sat up in that stand. I was nervous for England, but not nervous for going into a penalty shootout. And hopefully some of the words that we had during the week put your mind at ease, that our best 5 penalty takers were going to stand up, and they're going to take in the right order, and we've been all over the eyes of the opposition as well, where they're good, where they're not so good. Pickford's an outstanding goalkeeper as well, with presence and whatever. and everything just come together. But it only comes together because you're prepared to say penalties aren't a lottery. And I got fed up after my time as a player taking penalties when managers, ex-managers, players, whoever said penalties are a lottery. I never ever subscribed to that. They're not. And you've seen it, you've witnessed it for yourself. Now, we might have come out on the wrong side of that, but I tell you what, all you're trying to do is push those roulette tables in your direction. You know what I mean? More reds than blacks or whatever it may be. And we did that today, and we won a penalty shootout. And when we go in, we're going to take one on, may have to take one on in a semi-final or a final, and you know the preparation will be there. And I'll sit there with absolute confidence. We might not win one, but I'll sit there with absolute confidence that team, my country, have done everything in their power to win.
Absolutely, and you mentioned Jordan Pickford, and he's got a record of saving penalties, a good record of it, and Jim Proudfoot, he's got extensive knowledge on his water bottle as well, we've just found out.
Well, that's fantastic, and it was printed, it wasn't just written on a scruffy bit of tape. He had a bottle, a drinks bottle, but a printed and laminated cover around the outside of the bottle that was a likely batting order for the Swiss. It wasn't quite right. You never know what it's going to be because of who's on the pitch or whatever, but they look back at previous shootouts. Akanji took the first one, they had him a little bit lower down than that, but he had always taken the third one in previous shootouts, so you can completely understand what it was. And it told Pickford what to do, whether it be dive to your left or feint to dive one way and then dive the other or stand firm. He was just given specific instructions. That's the level of preparation that's going into it. And we made the point that if you can put 5 penalties away, you've got an outstanding chance of winning it, because he has always saved one in every shootout. He's been in 4 now for England and they've won 3 of them, and he's saved at least one in every shootout. So that's another part of the self-belief. You go into it, he knows exactly what he's doing, and we will bank on him being able to save one. So if we all do our individual job, we will win. And that, I think, is the train of thought. But it just shows the immense level of preparation that has gone into it. It's fantastic. And that bottle's probably on eBay right now for about £10,000. Yeah,
absolutely. It's valuable, no doubt about that. And on the penalty takers themselves, Cole Palmer, young, hasn't started this tournament, scores a great penalty, takes the first one. Jude Bellingham looked like he was out on his feet. He stepped up, took his penalty and scored. Then you got Bukayo Saka, we'll come back to him in a second with Stu. And then the fourth, the best, Ivan Toney, never in doubt, of course. Trent, there was a bit of pressure on Trent Alexander-Arnold, having come on, puts away his penalty. So congratulations to all of those guys and to Jordan Pickford. But a word, Stuart Pearce, about Bukayo Saka, because he was in the position you were in. You missed it in the semi-final of the World Cup. 6 years later, you score in the score for England in the European Championships against Spain. That feeling for Bukayo Saka, having put that penalty away, must be something very special.
It certainly is. It shows the kid's got massive moral courage for a start, you know, and give me a player that's got moral courage, and we've got half a chance, you know. If all 11 or the whole squad's got the same moral courage as this boy has today, then we're going somewhere. Bottom line is, when he missed a penalty for England, he suffered a lot of abuse on social media, all of those type of things. I didn't have to go through that like he did. And for him to come out of there and stand up and take a penalty and being one of I had no doubts that if statistically he was one of the best penalty takers, he would go and take a penalty. No doubt about that. And I'm absolutely delighted for him. Not just standing up and taking a penalty, he was our best player, by the way. He scored the goal, he scored a penalty, and on top of that, his performance was better than any England player on the pitch. Well done to him.
Absolutely. Couple of negatives maybe. Listen, we're through the semi-final, we're not going to dwell on negatives, but I thought that Harry Kane still, Jim, didn't look fit. Eventually he basically threw himself into the dugout and had to come off. Ivan Toney, as Stuart was alluding to earlier, absolutely ready to come on and finish the job off for England. But Harry Kane, a lot might depend on his fitness now, given took a couple of knocks in the game and got injured going into the dugout. But I think there were fans thinking that he's not mobile anyway, and it was a little bit of a problem for England.
Yeah, they struggled in the first half particularly, where England played well. Harry wasn't in a position that he could improve his level of performance. He had 9 touches in the first 45 minutes, and of those 9 touches, 4 of them were giving possession away. So they still haven't found the right formula. I think there was a better balance about England, but Harry still wasn't creating or having the chances created for him. Now listen, if a good chance is going to come the way of any England player inside the penalty area, I want that to be Harry Kane. But my worry at the moment is he going to be in the right position for the chances? We saw in the first half there was a brilliant ball flashed in by Saka right across the edge of the 6-yard box, and Harry was maybe 4 yards behind it. And I think that, you know, early in the season, when he was absolutely bang on it for Bayern, he would have been there just to walk the ball into the net. That's how good the ball was. So he hasn't got that right now, and he's always looking as though he's playing through the pain barrier. Whether he is or not, I don't know, but he looks as though he is, that he's not quite right. So I just wonder what Gareth Southgate will do. My gut feeling is that if Harry declares himself fit, he will still play. I don't know whether he should, or let's put the rider on it, that they need to look to be taking him off much more quickly than they did today. I think you could start with him, but say, right, Harry, you're not fully fit. Give me 55 minutes, give me an hour, and I will be taking you off, unless the circumstances are ridiculous, and that's not the right thing to do. But just assume that you're only going to get an hour. That might be the way forward.
Well, the reality is there's a reason why Gareth Southgate took 3 strikers, broke with his own traditions and took 3 strikers to this tournament. And it may well be because Harry Kane's fitness was in doubt. We saw that at the back end of the season with Bayern Munich. But there's 2 perfectly fit strikers there waiting to come on or waiting to get into the team to do some damage. And if there is a doubt about his fitness, then you've got to consider making that change. Would you make that change, Stuart Pearce?
I wouldn't be against it. I don't see it as a big deal. You know, he's our captain of our team. I understand that, but I think in the next game, if he's fit, he'll start. But I wouldn't be adverse to taking players off quickly. I said to you before, I probably wouldn't have started him and Jude Bellingham in the 3rd group game. I would have had a look at 2 other players in regard to what performance they could have delivered for the team. And as we're seeing now, it's all about a squad situation, isn't it? You know, if form hasn't been right, we've needed to go to the bench to get an influence from the bench. I think we've done that, and we've created a really good thing. Gareth's offered loyalty to a lot of those players. You know, he's near enough picked the same players, give or take, for all the games. But those players on the pitch, those 11 know that there's a bench of maybe 5 or 6 players that are breathing down their neck that are desperate to get on.
How confident are you England can go on and do it, win it?
A lot more confident than this morning, big man. It's fair to say. Listen, we've been underwhelming for 4 games. Totally underwhelming. And I thought if we come out and deliver a performance like that, we'd have gone home. And I'm convinced of that now. We didn't deliver that performance. We stepped up to the plate. We played better. I still think there's a lot more to come from this England squad. But I don't need to be convinced. The players do. And I think this game and this result and this penalty shootout has convinced them that they can.
How are you feeling?
I feel that is a corner turned. I think that things were put in motion in the sort of haphazard performance in the last 30-35 minutes of the other day, last weekend, that was the catalyst for England to be able to turn the corner. That felt as though they did turn the corner here. The manner of the victory coming from behind again. I mean, that's 8 times that England have conceded the first goal this season, which isn't great in 14 games, but they've only gone on to lose 2 of them. So that will be in their minds, that they have this power of being able to come back, and we've seen them concede the first goal in the last 2 games, come back and win one and then win the next one on a penalty shootout. So the connect was there again with the fans. There's something about winning penalty shootouts, isn't there, that just puts a smile on your face. I'm like the kid in the Ready Brek advert at the moment. I've got this happy, satisfied glow around me at the moment. I don't know that I'm going to sleep very well tonight, because I think the adrenaline will still be there. And there may well be noise outside the hotel windows as well, but it's just sensational. This was a properly... It was a 7.5 out of 10 performance, but as a day, it's a 10 out of 10 day to be an England fan today.
I thought the glow was because of his new haircut, to be honest with you. But listen, it has been a great day. You're absolutely bang on. Gareth Southgate's 100th game in charge, and it's one we will not forget. for a long, long time. England into the semi-finals. Hope you've enjoyed the debrief, and we will see you next time.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.